I am actually sick of myself. I'm sick of these certain habits that I really want to start to change. So let's talk about how you can rebrand yourself in 2024 by going through my example of the things I'm going to change. Welcome back to the What is Eating You podcast. I'm recording here from the Gold Coast and I am super excited to be back home. You may have noticed that this week's episode didn't have the fancy introduction, and I'm going to explain why. Basically, my amazing video editor is no longer with us, so until I have a replacement, I'm practicing what I preach, which is imperfect consistency. So if this podcast reached your ears this week, give me a high five, because I really am not skilled in uploading the technology and doing all that fancy stuff behind the scenes. I have a team that helps me with that, so I can just focus on the content. So fingers crossed that this works and got out to you. Now, this episode comes from 3 things I want to change about myself. Now, I'm not adding that you have to always be working on yourself and you're not good enough the way you are. I love myself and I love my life, but if I'm really real, there are things about myself that I would like to slightly change, not only to make my life easier, but to make the lives of those around me easier. And I think this takes a lot of accountability, a lot of self-awareness, and just vulnerability as well, being open to the possibility of change. We usually go through our lives thinking we're fine, we're not the problem, it's everyone else, but there are certain things, whilst they're not super problematic, I think that they do impact my life more than I would like to admit. And I haven't really paid attention to them because they haven't been a priority. But I guess over the past 2 months and just returning back, I don't want to be the exact same person. I want to refine like a diamond. I want to refine and polish, the diamond a little bit just to be a bit better in certain areas. So I'm going to explain what they are. And if you resonate with this, please let me know. Let me know on Instagram if you like this episode, or if there's certain things about you that you think about while you listen to this episode. I'm always keen to hear your feedback. Right. So as mentioned, my life has been pretty good despite these habits, but now I'm back. It's time for a bit of a rebrand. I want to really head into 2024 with a fresh outlook. And I know that's so cliche, new year, new me, but I just want to say new year, refined me. I think that's a really nice way to put it, and it doesn't put too much pressure on us. The first thing I want to change about myself is being disciplined with my organization. From the outside, I probably look organized, and I am in many aspects of my life. But there are things that I always prioritize, such as posting on social media, going on my stories, showing up for my Zoom meetings. When it is those aspects, I show up really flawlessly because I absolutely love it and it comes very natural to me. Now, as mentioned, my video editor has decided to move on, so I'm recording this without all the bells and whistles, but I've asked my editor to meet up and let's talk about some feedback. So we're meeting up later this week, but I just go through stages of being super ahead of things and then scrambling last minute when it comes to the podcast, for example. So as you know, the podcast is a passion project. It's not a direct money maker with me. I don't have a producer, although I'm hoping that might happen one day. So for me, it's more of an investment and a cost rather than, I guess, a direct, money maker. And it's not about money. I enjoy doing this. It is a passion for me, and it gives me the opportunity to elaborate on more complex topics in detail, because I think podcasts are easy to listen to. It's not the same as, reading a book, but I think it's more well thought out than, say, a 1-minute TikTok video that misses a lot of information. So when it's come to this podcast, I have scrambled last minute, which means my editor has had to scramble last minute, but we've always got it done. He's been amazing. He's always got it done. I mean, my whole team is overseas, so there are unexpected delays with monsoons, with earthquakes, with just really intense things that, we don't often see in Australia. So I'm super flexible. I'm like, oh my gosh, you missed this deadline, or why isn't this done? I'm like, yeah, no worries. We'll get it done. And I feel like that's the kind of culture I want in my business. Family first. Whatever makes you happy, that comes first, and the work will always get done. We're not going to cry over a podcast episode that didn't go live on Monday at 5 a.m. I know it probably affects my views and my algorithm, but whatever. I'd rather me and my team just try to be imperfectly consistent than stress over being perfect. And that's why I am talking about this. So whilst I am very flexible when it comes to this, I have a sneaking suspicion that perhaps my flexibility or last minute or not being super organized with this podcast may have influenced his decision to not work together anymore. But this is me jumping to conclusions. This is me fortune telling. This is me mind reading. I don't actually know this is the reason. So I'm going to speak about it on Thursday. And I acknowledge my unhelpful thinking patterns. You see, I was tempted to go down a spiral and think, oh my gosh, it's me and people don't want to work for me. And I'm, all those negative thoughts. But instead I said, no, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to ask the question, but there could be so much going on. And what was super interesting was after this spiral and all these thoughts, he actually messaged me and said, I'm so sorry if this is unprofessional, but I actually think I could have ADHD. It's like I really struggle to focus on tasks, etc. And I said, well, no, it's not unprofessional at all. I'm glad you told me, So let's talk about it. I'll try to help you as best I can, whatever you need. So this is just a reminder to notice when your mind is jumping to conclusions. Notice when your mind really is thinking the worst case scenario. Pick yourself up and actually focus on what is real. So when my mind goes, what if this, what if that? I say, Stephanie, what is actually real? What is really happening? And people can move on. People can quit. People can be overwhelmed. I know he has so much going on, and I want to speak to him because I want to thank him for everything he has done. He's created amazing videos for me. He has been present. He's always been positive and happy, and I don't blame him. If I was working, if I had someone submitting stuff last minute, being like, I would be, is this girl okay? So I don't actually blame him if that was the reason. But I actually don't know if it is. So maybe I'll do a part 2 and let you know. But in past company cultures, organizations I've worked with have had a completely different approach. If staff wanted to leave, it was, you know what, they weren't right for this company anyway, or they didn't appreciate it, or, whatever, everyone moves on, staff are so unreliable. Whereas I actually think if your staff are leaving, you are likely to be the problem, or the organization is likely to be the problem. And this takes guts. Like, this takes accountability to realize. And I really think society's changing and everyone needs to feel appreciated and everyone needs to be told that their work is meaningful. And I really want to let my staff member know this. So yeah, there's things I did in my business that have been challenging, and being last minute and not having content uploaded, not putting the link down properly, but it's my own problem. I've got a lot going on. So this is what I want to work on. I want to be more organized and disciplined about my organization. I say disciplined because I put it in the diary, I schedule it in, but if something more fun comes up, I go and do that thing because, like I said, no one's really counting on me except all the people listening to this, but I don't see you all the time, so I don't know who you are unless you tag me. So if you could relate to this, please let me know. So I hope by sticking to and adhering to the system I've created, which is setting time aside, scripting the podcast and recording the podcast and uploading the podcast, I can facilitate more organization and change and less last minute flightiness when it comes to the podcast. So that's the first thing I want to change. And the way I'll know I'll change this is if I'm 1 week ahead of schedule. So I want to be at least 1 week ahead. Maybe I'll cut down to 2 episodes a week to help me, but I don't want to because I really enjoy it. And I think people enjoy 3 episodes a week, but I'm not sure. Let me know. Do you hang out for these episodes or are you just listening at your own pace? I would really appreciate any feedback that you have. Number 2, the second thing I want to change about myself is being more tidy and careful with my belongings. I don't value being tidy. And I think it's okay to have my stuff everywhere. I don't have time to be tidy. I don't have time to put this there. That's sort of been my mantra. But the truth is, being untidy and not mindful of where I put things, it creates clutter. I've got clothes I don't wear and I lose stuff. I leave my belongings. I left my AirPods on a plane. I've lost headphones. I lost another pair of headphones in Bali, just a cheaper pair, but I'm just not careful. So I don't know if tidy is the right word, but I think just being more mindful with my belongings and also being more tidy, because I know this annoys other people. My mom dealt with it for 30 years with my school books on the kitchen bench, and my partner as well. Like, he's accepted it about me and he's like, yeah, it's just whatever. Not everyone's perfect, but I know I can improve this. So I started this week by keeping a promise to myself. And it was throwing out clothes that no longer serve me and if I haven't worn them in 6 months. And I noticed I find it really hard to throw things out. So what I'm doing is I am asking myself, does this align with who I want to be in 2024? Have I worn this activewear in the last 6 months? And if the answer is no, it's going in a bag, and whatever happens to that bag happens. So I'm not telling myself it's going in the bin. I'm saying, you know what, we'll just put it in the bag and then we'll deal with it after. So I was tempted to ignore this. I had clothes everywhere, all over the floor. And then I was like, oh, I got to start work. I'm going to jump on my laptop. And I was like, Stephanie, you are busy procrastinating. You're trying to not do the thing you promised yourself you would do, which is clean out your wardrobe, clean out your cupboards. That's your priority. Don't worry about work. Don't worry about anything else. This is important to you, so let's do it now. So if you're someone who is a busy procrastinator, i.e., you do all these other bits and bobs other than the thing you are really wanting to do, address it. Do the thing you really want to do, because once you get that out of the way, you're going to feel a sense of self-accomplishment. And it's so important to keep the promises that you make to yourself. Now that brings me to number 3, the third thing I want to change about myself. And this is something I've been saying for years. It's my personal style. I've avoided this because I'm so focused on making it in business and creating content that I don't invest time in searching for clothes or investing in my style. And you may not see this because, I always end up pulling it together. But what people don't know is the arduous process behind the scenes of putting things together. I leave it last minute to find an outfit. I wear the same thing all the time, which is fine. I think it's good. I think we are very wasteful with money and people just buy heaps of stuff they don't need. But I would like to buy some real classic items that I can just wear over and over again. Because the issue is when I leave things last minute, I don't find an outfit that fits. It's annoying. You get upset. And I know you can relate to this as well, because people in my food freedom program have expressed that they do this too. I don't invest time in going into stores and trying things on, which is really weird because my mum and my sister love doing this, whereas I'm like, there's more important things to do. So I'm going to spend my evenings, rather than watching Netflix or scrolling, I'm really going to try look at Pinterest and get some inspiration and working towards building my style in 2024. So I've decided my style is going to be comfort, simplicity, luxury, and classic with a little bit of sass or sexiness. That's the kind of image I want to sort of go for and embrace. So if you've got any tips on this, let me know. Now it's your turn. Get a pen and paper, and I want to ask you, what is it you want to rebrand or refine about yourself? If you could change 3 things, what would it be? What are 3 things, or even one thing, deep down, you want to change or people might have suggested you change? Here are 3 steps to get started. 1, identify what it is. Is it style? Is it finance? Is it the way you speak? 2, identify what would your life look like when you were living this. So for me, it would be putting things away after I use them. It would be feeling at ease when I'm getting dressed. It would be being ahead with my podcast and not scrambling last minute. For example, it's 7:46 now and I have to meet someone at 8 o'clock. Lol. Anyways, and number 3 is, why do you want to do this? Why is this important to you? Because if your why is not strong enough, you are not going to achieve it. And for me, the why is, I deserve to make my life easier. I don't need to be rushing around last minute. I don't need to be doing this. There's no reason. So if I'm just a little bit more refined with these things, I think it's going to make me feel more calm and more grounded on a consistent basis. So start small and write down mini goals that can make this happen. Don't overwhelm yourself. Now, if it is your relationship with food, you know I can help. That's one thing I will pride myself on. So if you're wanting to refine your relationship with food, just book a free one-to-one call and we can get started. I am limiting these calls towards the end of the year, but I know how important this is for people to get on top of their eating and their relationship with food. So if you're keen, just click the link in the show notes and I'll be sure to have a chat with you. A massive thank you for listening to this today. In summary, it's okay to want to refine or rebrand yourself. The key is to figure out what it is and then make small achievable steps to get there. Don't forget to rate and follow the podcast if you haven't already. And please let me know what you think and if this episode sounded good. I am very grateful that you are being here today, and a massive thank you for your time and your energy. Have the best day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.